Yo, what's up? Hello, what's up, everyone? Welcome to our. What's up, everyone? Welcome to our stream today. Today, I can promise you, we have a very OP, overpowered stream. This stream, a lot of stuff just happened to be this week. We had just so much stuff going on that today there's just so much to discuss. Besides that, of course, I've also been going even deeper into AI. Um, Last stream, the one that we did previously, the week before, we went deep into one particular AI paper. We talked a little bit around that. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit more. I think, guys, I think I figured it out. I think I figured it out. I think I know where this is going. So, we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about that today. Thank you for this. Yeah, I think this was because of daylight savings, so it got shifted by an hour. Thank you for this. I'll do it. Ooh. Hello, what's up, gang? Okay, let's get started. So, very first thing, कहाँ शुरू करें? The very first thing. Let's start here. So, folks, number one, if you want to receive reminders about these particular sessions that are happening, you want to receive reminders about this, add this to your calendar, that kind of stuff. Highly recommend checking out this. This is basically abnox.com. I just updated it as well. This lets you sign up for the streams and receive updates. So if you're like, bro, I keep forgetting every week, this is how you do it. Although this is just pretty much formality. I'm not really sending out any newsletters or something like that. I personally, I don't like that much information overload. But check that out. abnox.com will take you here. Let's start here. Number one, folks, right after the stream, I said I'm not going to give you information overload. Oh my God, here's some information overload. Right after the stream, we're going to be doing a Twitter space. So any Q&A stuff that, we don't talk about here, let's definitely talk about after this. I'll be joining this as well. So this happens. Don't look at this time. Of course, this is my time zone. So check this out. Check it on Twitter. Other than that, folks, we are live right now. Retweet this handsome frog. Do you guys want to know the story of how I generated this? I think all of you pretty much know this. But yes, this is Midjourney. What I was going for was so Ghana and I, we were figuring out, let's make some Pepes. Those of you who are in crypto, I bet this is the Pepe that's on your mind. Oh, fuck. Why can't I just do the $sign, bro? What the fuck? Okay. I'm sure this is the Pepe you're talking about. But this particular Pepe, yes, designed using Midjourney. I think this is in the art style of Francesco Botero. So we use Midjourney V5 for this. Botero has this very memey view. Like these, they look like they're modern memes, but yeah, these are like from the 80s, 70s. So anyways, I think my prompt was something like that. Here we are though. Here we are in the stream. So the first thing I want to start with, right, is let's look at what our theme is, right? We'll just do a quick recap, right? A quick recap because today, I'm telling you this, I think I have figured it out. And so before I drop it on you, I want to show you some of the stuff we've been talking about over the last few weeks, because I think this somehow builds up on top of all of that, right? So number one, let's come here. Let's adjust this. Ooh, what spacing. So number one, we put out this video yesterday. Now, guys, this one is overpowered, right? We were a little bit doubtful. We're like, hey, our videos are gradually kind of getting longer, if you notice. And we're like, should we actually do this? Like, Should we, like, anyways, point is, we went very deep in this, right? And of course, the title, Strategic Guide, this to me is a great refresher of the great online game, which is how do you use the power of the internet today to get jobs and freelance projects without going crazy, and being like, bro, what the fuck, this is not happening. How much Pepe do you have? I was late, bro, so I don't have any Pepe, unfortunately. Missed out. Missed out. So check this out, definitely. We put this out just yesterday. In fact, next week, a little bit of sneak preview. Next week, we have another dedicated video specifically for internships. Specifically for internships, right? Those of you who are in the cohort who talk to me, you know that, through 10K Designs, we've helped a lot of folks get internships in the industry, and internships are a good stepping stone into getting a full-time role because you get to actually get some experience. So we have another long video like this. The internships video is, I think when I recorded it was about 50 minutes, like, so nearly an hour long. We'll probably edit it down, but that's coming up next week. But to do the recap here, you see we are on this theme here. These two and the upcoming one, we're talking about practical concepts, right? Let's be very clear. Although things are changing, this AI device, I think we're talking about this kind of stuff more on the streams ever since we started a month ago. We started with this overall future tech. We went into some deep design, HCI, media. Here we are right now. We've been doing all of this. But the main note I want to make to all of you is, although things are changing, right? AI is coming. There are new tools, right? Now I'm using things like Midjourney to generate these beautiful frogs. Right? Things are, of course, changing. But the thing that I do not want you to forget is that although things are changing, most things stay the same, right? A lot of things will stay the same. So despite the fact that we're moving towards this AI future, and it might not be smartphones, it might be totally something else. Like, I don't want you to miss out or ignore the fundamentals, guys. These are fundamentals, right? If you guys are here, I'm assuming you want to build a career, you want to make money in this, right? So just being like, oh, cool tech coming up, like, I don't think that is going to be satisfying enough. Like, you also want to make money with this. So these things here definitely is the balance. So check these out. These things are not changing. In fact, these things are probably going to get more overpowered because of the new things that you can do, right? So today, however, we're going to go in this route, not this practical kind of route, maybe a little bit there, but we're going to go into this route. We're going to go deep into AI. And the place that I want to start is here. Guys, you see this? You see this right here? You know what this is? ये है भाई का portfolio 2016 से. Let me open this in a new window. This is my portfolio from 2016. Now, why am I showing you this? Right? Here's the proof that it is from 2016. I just showed you guys that, right? I'm not making this up. You can see right here, created Jan 2016. This is actually my portfolio from 2016. This was before I joined housing as head of design. This was kind of when I was still doing Listen, right? And it was actually the early days of Listen. But yeah, PDF portfolio. Now, of course, the main thing that I would share to people would be, oh, wrong link. Okay, whatever. The main thing I would share with people would definitely be my dribble. That's how things were back in the day. But this was my portfolio. And the reason I want to show you this, of course, firstly, let's just do a quick walkthrough, right? Let's just do a quick walkthrough and check this out. Let's see how this holds up. But other than that, I want to use the projects from this portfolio as a jump off point to our topic of the day, which is AI, HCI, and design. How are things changing and how can you plan for it? Are you guys ready? Real quick, all of you who are here who've not even dropped a single chat, I want you to drop a chat, guys. Drop your attendance. Come on, let's do this. Come on, guys. Are you ready? Are we ready to dive deep into this? I hope you are, because I need to see your attendance right now in the chat. Really, really, I really mean it. We're about to do this and we're going to see a lot more, but I need to know that you're here. Yeah, good to hear that. I don't see any chats though. I hope it's just the lag. Okay, present sir. Dope. Okay, we can start. I think we can start. The spooky music, I'm going to play it every once in a while in between when we're talking about deep shit. So, folks, let's jump into this. And this was my portfolio from 2016. This was my PDF. I'm a UI UX designer or whatever. Some logos right here that you can kind of see. These were mostly my freelance projects. Although, so for example, DirectEye, I had worked on a project for them. Odesk, not just freelancing on Odesk, but I had actually worked on a small freelance project for the Odesk team itself, right? So these were some things. Yellow, of course, was my internship. This was another freelance. Who is that? Who's that? That was my door, guys. That was not the phone. That was the door. That was somebody rang the bell downstairs. I had to buzz them in. Maybe a delivery. So these were my freelance projects, right? Some of these I got on Upwork. Some of these were my own project. Like the Scratch was just like a note-taking app I had built with Varun Maya. Right? He developed it. I designed it. These were just some random ones. This was a hackathon project, so this was, I'm just like kind of putting that here. But all of these are freelance projects, right? These apps don't exist today. Although I would love to see if some of them do. So definitely Google this if anyone's interested. But let's go deeper. Let's go deeper, guys. Why is my mic bobbling? Yeah, good question. Why is this not? Good question. So the very first project, right? This was Listen. This was the music app that I actually did as a full-time startup with my friend, with a bunch of founders. The website, however, not visible, not reachable anymore. However, I can show you this. Listen. Roughly, this is what it looked like. I can just quickly show you. Now, you note that, okay, right, this was overall the app that we built. Okay, so share music with friends. These were some screenshots. There's way more. Okay, here it is. So this is roughly what the website looked like. It was a interactive website where it was a GIF and music would keep changing, and then this would happen. And you see there was this person on the left, the person on the right kept changing. It was a way to show you that, you know, you're having real conversations. Now, of course, I didn't design the whole website. This was me and my team, Vibhas, Abhiraj, Bhargav. But this was my very first portfolio project. And the main note I wanted to use here, it's bots, right? It's you talking. It's a communication app. Now, the reason I think that's important is let's look at the next project here. My next project, of course, this was Listen. There's a demo here as well, which not linked, unfortunately, old portfolio. Right, so this was my first portfolio project. The second one, this was actually something I worked on when I was at Housing Labs. Specifically within housing.com, the team I was a part of was Housing Labs. And this was our overall, this is what we would do, right? We would work on new shit. One of my favorite projects from there was this thing I worked on called Ariel. And, that was just an internal name. But let me show you that real quick here. I'm going to start. Let's just click the link. So I want to ask you this question. Let's say some of you who might have moved to Bangalore. Any of you moved to Bangalore? Drop it in the comment. Let's see who all have moved. But let's say you're moving to Bangalore and you're looking for a new place. How do you typically do it? What's the journey? Right? You go to these online portals, you might look for a broker, you might post on Twitter. So this was a concept we worked on around 2015. And the whole idea was, what if we could experiment with chatbots? Like, what if there was an intelligent bot? What if there was a housing GPT, right? A housing GPT, and its main goal was to help you find a place. How would it do it? Right? That was the broad thing. And my exploration was around doing a chat bot. Very interesting, because I was going deep into chat as an interface, and then I ended up doing a chat app, right? But that was the state of mind I was in. Let me just show you this real quick, this prototype. This is how the app starts. Let's log in with Facebook. I don't know. I don't remember why it's just Facebook login, but it's a prototype, right? So just to show you the functionality, that even the actions can happen within the chat, right? That was my intention with this, to show, let's say, a chat bubble, but it's a login chat bubble, right? So just in terms of my design system, that's how I'm thinking about it, these individual pieces. Nice to meet you. Before we start, do you have any questions? So not really, but let's just start. What can I help you with today? Right? So these are some functions. So you can kind of think of these as, today when you use Discord, if you're in mid journey, you say /imagine and you say something, and the bot knows what you're asking for. Similarly, on something like AI.com, which is of course ChatGPT, you would probably ask something like this. But anyways, let's go through this. Help me find a place. Where are you looking to move? So Abiral is moving to Bangalore. So is Yash, right? Yash may be already in Bangalore. Now let's put that here, right? So let's pick this city. So you guys notice purely in terms of interactions, right? It's still a native chatbot type of UI. It's chat as an interface, but every once in a while the UI changes. So let's say something like this, like purely from a design system perspective, these, for example, are ways you can respond. Like there's fixed ways. And back then we didn't really have ChatGPT, right? So you can't say, hey Ariel, how are you doing today? Like it wouldn't understand that. You could of course do some natural language processing and do it, but guys, this was 2015, nowhere close to where we are today in terms of chatbots and ChatGPT. But this, now you notice when the intent changes to a more let's say an input where it's a locality, this changes into a search bar, right? So small UI things like this that still keep the chat interface. So I click this. Now, unfortunately, this prototype does not let me choose. It's just Chandiwali in Mumbai. That's where I stayed when I was in Bombay working at housing. By when do you want to move in? So just iOS date picker. I'm just going to pick. Okay, great. We'll find you something by then. Tell me about your preferences. So very linear flow, but let's just go through it, right? So when I add preferences, now guys, what kind of preferences do you have? I'm seeing a lot more Abiral, Yash, Manu. Okay, 3 people moving to Bangalore. But what kind of preferences are you guys looking for? I want to ask you this. Let's make it interactive. I feel like chat is slowed down. Meanwhile, guys, did Abnux, the YouTuber known as Abnux, did he predict ChatGPT? Ooh, we got his ass. Ooh, conspiracy time. Okay, let's continue. What are your preferences? Let's click this. I see a few chats. So furnished or not, you know, um, that definitely that's one of these. I'd prefer if the home was. Now, of course, since we're talking UX, let me just explain it to you guys. What we had kind of done was we knew, like, this was, of course, we're in there, so we kind of knew this. We knew that the more filters you do, the less likely you find something, because you say, I want this exact stuff, and you might only find three. You might only find three results, right? But if you find zero results, like let's say your filters are too tight, what that does is it shows you no results. So then you have to loosen your filters, right? So overall, the way this was designed, of course, you can get into. No, guys, no. Hold on. Yeah, you can get into budget, deposit amount, right? So these are kind of optional. But we had said looking for this thing, you can select one or multiple. Lease type is important, right? A lot of them don't do to bachelors and shit like that. So family company, this thing. I'd prefer if the home was. Now, the reason this was a preference is because, yeah, you would want furnished, but then if it's furnished and it sucks, like, I'm okay with semi-furnished. And maybe in some cases, I'm okay with furnished. Amenities would be nice to have. So basically, the main reason, just from a UX perspective, is so that just because of microwave, it doesn't show you the perfect results because this one thing is missing, right? So that's kind of a little bit of the UX behind this. But anyway, let's select a bunch of these. Let's say done. So this chat, what it does is it says up to 45K rent, 2 BHK, unfurnished, no restrictions. You guys might be wondering, 45K rent? Yeah, guys, I lived in a 2 BHK in Chandiwali, Powai, and I was paying 25, just me alone. Like, it was 50K for the house, a 2 BHK regular house in Chandiwali. It was furnished though. But anyways, these are your results, right? You've created that. So this, you can think of it as an onboarding flow. And now when you go to the home page, okay, let's just check this. It matches some of your tags, 80% match. The UI, yeah, it looks a little weird in some places. But then I was, as much as possible, trying to use the existing design system. A lot of these things, of course, I actually designed it myself. Actually, all of it I designed it myself. But some of these I was able to get from our design system. So we had a good design system with icons, these kind of headers and things like that, right? And so the main actions here are contact agent, share report, available from 2014. 2014. So I didn't design this in 2015. I designed this in 2014 then. What? What's happening, guys? Damn indeed. Literally working on my HCI assignment, and here I am looking for the flow state. Love the internet. Apurv, good to hear that, bro. Let's see if we can find you something. Guys, let's jump into this, alright? So I designed this in 2014. Okay, chalo, let's get back. So now I've done this. I'm going to go back. It says, it lets you update your preferences or whatever. So show me more, haven't seen yet. This, by the way, is also a notification. So let's say you get a notification once a day or something, 5 new, 3 new, something like that found. And these here. So when you click that notification, it would land you inside the chat and it would ask you this. Okay. So let's go to home. Now home, I know these shadows and shit, they look weird. I don't know why it's like that in terms of visuals. But this was just your home page. So this is your feed. This is the search that we entered. Now you can create another search like this, right? But we also had a Flat and Flatmates app that Housing had. So this is like a link to the other app. Maybe it's within this. And then, of course, it also has regular searches. You don't want to do this whole chatbot shit, right? You can just also... What's happening? Budget. No restrictions. Search. You can also do a regular search. And when you do a regular search, this bot, Ariel, says, hey, do you want me to send you updates for this? Which is, you've searched for a very specific set of filters, right? And it's showing you these houses. And so if you say yes, it subscribes you to another type of notifications. Those notifications land you in the chat the next time you open them. You guys like this app? You guys like this app? Okay, let's go to home. So what have we learned from this? What we've learned is the idea of chatbots has been around, right? Today, what I just showed you is an example of a kind of a restrictive chatbot, right? It doesn't let you do. Oh my god, I'm stuck. It doesn't let you do like crazy level shit, but like, it works. Like, even though ChatGPT doesn't exist, the way it takes the input, right? The input modalities, the way it does it works, right? And it's able to, this can act as a front end to your housing.com system, and it can actually work on that, right? So this, today, if I had to design it, like, this looks like I could have designed this today, because a lot of things I would have done differently, but some things I would have kept the same. Like, some of these input types, I would probably keep it the same. Let's go back to this portfolio here, right? This 2016 portfolio. Where's my PDF? Okay, let's just see this. The other app here was this, Bucky, which is research for chatbots. I actually want to go forward. So this was a side project that I did, which was also chatbots. And I'm going to go a little bit faster here. But what it does is it says, yo, what's up? Hey there. You guys see I'm reusing elements and shit. Yeah, of course. Slightly different UI, but hello, Bucky. Bucky भाई साहब हमें दिखाएंगे पैसों के बारे में. This is like, imagine if Fold Money, you guys know Fold Money? Fold Money was a chatbot. That's what this is. I never read your SMSs. Okay, cool. That's a little sneaky, bro. Wait. Guys, is this chatbot trying to scam me, bro? It took my SMS permissions. ठीक है. I withdrew from an ATM 14 times last month. Okay, what else? What? 61,000 a month? Let's click this. Whoa. Wow. Tap on a month to see breakdown. Okay, I'm just going to close for now. Guys, what is the deal with this chatbot? No way did I spend 46,000. Spent in August so far. Bad contrast. I'll stop this. Bad contrast, right? Not so readable. I know visually, I was trying to be more cool than try to do. I was trying to be cool rather than, think about accessibility and shit, since it's just a prototype. This little interaction here, whatever. But it's a simple app, as you can see, right? It's two tabs. It's a chatbot that does your onboarding. It shows you the stuff. It takes your SMS permissions, right? Similar to how apps like Walnut for Android today work. They read your SMSs and they can see your bank SMS. And based on your bank SMS, they're able to do some visualization. So card expenses, you can see transactions, different cards if you have, cash withdrawal, which are shown separately, and then finally available balance. Inputs, like maybe you got some money from PayPal. This is your freelancing money. NEFT, this was something else, right? It's a deposit for a freelance project. Somebody paid you. But guys, the reason I'm showing you all this, right? Let's now jump into some of the deeper territories. Let me just finish showing you this. This was yellow. So my overall portfolio, Listen, number one. Ariel, which was one of my projects from housing.com. I have other stuff, but just this one. Bucky, which was like a let's just say self-initiated. This was just, I did this around my free time. In fact, I did this before Ariel because I was like, bro, I want to explore this chatbot thing. Like, in my head, it seems like it could work. It feels like every app could be chat, right? That was my thinking. And that's why, maybe that's the reason why I pushed to actually do this at housing. But this was just a random thing I worked on. In fact, I actually got a developer on board. So Imran, a friend of mine, actually developed this. So this was a real app. It's just we didn't launch it because we couldn't align. Right? It was just two of us. We're thinking about it. Is this a startup? Is this a thing? And there's always bugs and things like that. Then we start talking about money. Anyway, point is we didn't really launch this. There was just an exploration. And just to wrap this up, that was it. This was my portfolio back then. Of course, I had other projects, but this is just a selection. Yellow, of course, this doesn't exist anymore, right? This started as an internship, but quickly it turned into freelance later, so it was a mix of both. But anyway, Yellow got acquired. What was I showing you? Yeah, and just to show you, I actually even pulled this up, yellowdesign.tumblr.com. Now this is password protected, so I don't think you'll be able to see it. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what the password is. It just saved in my browser. But this was Yellow. And I'll be honest, like this was probably my but one of my first huge full end-to-end apps. So you can see like doing a bit of design system work. When is this, guys? The date? 2015, 8 years ago. 8 years ago. But this was just like my very rough style guide. What the fuck? This was designed in Photoshop, guys. This was designed in Photoshop. I actually started learning Sketch only after I joined housing.com. In fact, this particular project that I'm showing you, this was my portfolio for housing.com. This was the project that I actually interviewed with, where they asked me questions and they said, how did you do this? How did you do that? And yeah, I made this all in Photoshop. So literally the first week that I joined housing, my main task was learn Sketch. You're not going to be using Photoshop here, bro. Yeah. Okay. You guys want to see this or should I just skip over? Rohan says, you ever wrote any code for any of this? No, bro, I did not. I for some of my internships, I did write code, right? Front end. I've done a little bit of front end code, but no, bro. The rest of this, no. It was all design. It was all design that I was focused on. This was what the app looked like before I joined. Or did I design this? Okay, early concept. Oh, okay, let me just say this is what it looked like before I joined. Bad. Anyway, it was Android only, and that's why this is all like so material design, Twitter looking. In fact, I remember in my interview, one of the questions that was asked of me was this bitch right here. This guy. Why do you use the floating action button? What's the point of using a floating action button? Is it good? Is it bad? What's the pros? What are the cons? What else would you do if you had to use something else? Because that time, the only other app that had it was, I think, WhatsApp. And WhatsApp also had just added it, right? That's how far back this was. But okay, I'm just going to show you one more and then we move to the future-facing parts of this stream. Are you secretly a part of the, what is this? OpenAI team? Am I? Thank you guys. Glad you're enjoying this. I think we can keep going. Photoshop, yes. Yeah, for posting on Facebook, I bet. Yeah, Cyborg edits for Facebook. Cyborg memes for angsty teens. Meme pages. Okay, let's jump back here. So guys, that was my portfolio. And the reason I showed you all is I just wanted to show you that I had this kind of interest in interactions, right? In chatbots, let's just say. Now, if you've been following some of our old videos, you know what the connection is roughly, right? like we talked about in this video, we talked about the post smartphone. What happens after smartphones, right? So if I look at chatbots, it's still smartphone. It's just the way of interacting is different, right? Overall, one of the main core points of this video. Okay, it's not spooky anymore. One of the core points of this video is that we are in the information age, so industrial age, information age, and we're headed towards the intelligence age. Chatbots were an early version of that. And right, I'm not going to take credit for it. I didn't come up with chatbots, right? Even back then, chatbots was a huge trend. It's just that we did not have the proper technology for it, so it kind of died down over time. One of the main points of this is that information age. And what it basically means is this, of course, talks about post smartphone. So it's more voice interface or something like that. But the idea that you can talk to an app, have a look at the spends tab if you need anything else. The idea that you can talk to an app and that instead of a broker, you have this bot that's just sending you these good leads for these houses, right? Of course, this is way early, but this same app 3 years down the line, if it exists, would probably even call up the broker for you, do a robocall and say, in Kannada or whatever, and it would do it, right? That's the kind of intelligence age you're imagining. Now, when we talk about HCI, right? Let's start there. When we talk about HCI, and what I'm about to do is I'm about to switch to my iPad right here. Yes, we did talk about all this stuff. When we talk about HCI, we're talking about what is the nature of interactions between humans and computers. When we talk about HCI in a work context, we are maybe going a little deeper. We're talking about what are the interactions between humans, computers, in organizations with networks, right? So here you could have a human computer interaction, you could have a human in an organization, right? That kind of becomes a little bit more organizational behavior, or more, let's just say, that route of things. You could have human network interaction, which is that's the kind of stuff that we discussed in the previous HCI stream. We talked about how we live these algorithmic lives dictated by the feed and shit like that. But overall, what I want to show you, right, is I want to go a little speculative. Guys. When we look at human-computer interaction, spooky music is not audible anymore, or is it? Let's come here. When we look at human-computer interaction, and I'll tell you why exactly I'm talking about this. The title of the stream is Design, HCI, and AI. We started with some design stuff, right? So for the last 30 to 40 minutes, we've been talking about some design stuff. AI, the reason I showed you that specific design stuff is we are trying to imagine what does this information age to intelligence age kind of transition look like. And one of the most interesting articles I've read this week, is the Guide to Autonomous Agents. Now, in the previous live session, we talked about the idea of, we talked about this UI, the game UI as an interaction model. So let's just see. We talked about Agent GPT, number one. We talked about how it is possible to initiate these kind of agents. One is just the idea. these agents inside a in this game simulation Pokemon type of thing. This is just maybe a front end or something, and you got these characters, they hallucinate, they talk to each other, they maintain logs, they do thinking, they do processing. You can give them natures, you can give them behaviors, you can create a simulation of an office, you can create a simulation of you and like a focus group or something. This is a research paper. And in general, the way it goes is these kind of ideas maybe make it to research papers first, but it has to go into demos. So these guys, they released a demo. Now somebody else builds a demo on top of that. That demo might become a product. That product might become a company, or that product might become a feature, and then that feature is launched by a different company, right? That's how it goes. So it's a good idea sometimes looking at these research papers, because you get to know what's early before demos become wide, before there are, on GitHub a bunch of these demos and repos that you can fork. Beyond that, it becomes a product. It becomes indie hackers. They're making features. They're making, I just launched this. I just launched that. Right? They're taking demos and they're making it a product that can be used. Some of these products become features in existing apps, like Slack. Let's say they add this. Or another thing they might do is it might become a company of its own, right? So somebody might see this and they might say, oh, let's start something, and they create this, which is gather.town. Or gather.town might see this research paper and say, hey, let's actually include this feature. And of course, they have to see the research paper and they have to see what is useful from here, what makes sense. How do we align user need with this? They can't just add things because cool lag raha tha, right? So that overall is that process here. But I went a little deeper. I think in this stream, we talked about AutoGPT just a little bit, and I showed you just like this simple online demo of AutoGPT. The interesting thing about AutoGPT is it is able to generate, like you can just give it a goal, like you have to figure out how to do this. It generates the tasks it has to do, and AutoGPT can initiate other GPTs to delegate work to them, right? So that by itself is almost like what we saw with Gather.town, right? It's almost like a little office. AutoGPT is coming up with, you're giving it a goal, it's coming up with these tasks, it's executing these tasks, and AutoGPT is connected to it can be connected to something like Zapier, right? So with Zapier, you could then set up no code automations, and you could say, hey, you could literally create your employee, and you could say, you are a marketing manager, your name is Young, you're a design marketing manager at Cottage, you do this, that, and it does the work for you. Because of course, that's a little far off. It's not here yet, right? So something like AutoGPT, we've gone past the research phase, right? There were initial papers. We're now in the demo stage. There are no AutoGPT kind of products yet. There are no AutoGPT companies yet. There's not so many autonomous this thing. But the main difference here, when you look at autonomous agents, great article, by the way. I will link this here for anybody that wants to see it. But the interesting thing about this autonomous agents is the same front end that I showed you, the chatbot. Ariel is looking for a place. If Ariel was AutoGPT, right? If it was an autonomous agent, it would be able to do a lot more. Now, of course, I'm not going to walk through the entire article. I think you can definitely read this. But I like some of these quotes here, which is the future of automation looks like everybody becoming a manager. There are programs that, when given an objective, are able to create task lists for themselves, complete tasks, create new tasks, reprioritize that task list, complete the new top task, and loop until the objective is reached. Right? Absolutely right, Hitesh. Some of these automations can also be done with shortcuts in iOS, right? You could set up shortcuts such that when I do this, do that. Right? And so with Zapier, it's almost like that. You're hooking up all these different things, and you're giving this autonomous agent some goals to do. And based on that, it might go and execute these series of tasks. There have also been, so we're still at the demo stage, by the way, right? Keep in mind, we're early when it comes to something like this. There have also been demos that people have created where you can just say, order a large plain pizza to Domino's One Vanderbilt. That's the input. I showed you those chats, how we went through those inputs for Chandiwali house and all that shit. Only input I gave here is your goal is to order a large plain pizza from this to this place. 1 Vanderbilt is the address here. Now, what you can see it's doing is it's actually creating this log, which is it's telling you what it's doing, right? And it figures it out. Guys, you are not telling it how to use it. The agent here is using Domino's.com like a user. And what does a user do? You go and you're like, you browse, right? Where is the thing? Oh, where is delivery? Okay, let me enter my name. Let me do this. You figure out UIs, right? Today, the UI that you and I design is not really used by bots as such. Of course, when you make a website, Google's bots crawl that page for SEO and all that shit, but not like this. You don't design your UIs for bots to use them like this, right? Usually, maybe it's on the back end. Like maybe there's APIs that do the connection. And if Domino's had an API, you could use the ordering API and actually place an order. But to just do it like this with no APIs available, this is a huge technological shift. This was the one that we talked about in the previous stream, generative agents. And yeah, okay, crazy. So autonomous agents are real, and you tell it what the goal is, and it just manages itself forever. Yes, bro, that is what it is. Is it somehow to Alexa or Siri? The way you can think about this, Sanjana, is Alexa and Siri are the previous generation of the same idea, roughly, right? The whole idea with voice interfaces was to make it more natural, to reduce the barriers to doing certain things, right? Because voice is assumed to be the most natural. Now, today, of course, we have Siri, which is not that good. We have Alexa, which is decent, right? It can do some stuff. But we have shortcuts, right? What Hitesh says, you can set up some of these automations by yourself. Zapier has existed. And that's what makes this so interesting as technology. Because these things that already exist can now interface with things that will exist in the future. We have this kind of composability, this kind of backward compatibility that does exist, which is all the current stuff that you use right now can be superpowered with this new tech. So it is somehow similar to Alexa or Siri because the next version of Siri will probably be an autonomous agent. So it's not going to be just for lookup tasks, right? So what is a lookup task? Hey Siri, what's the temperature? Hey Siri, can you read out the temperature? See, it's not even doing that properly. What the fuck? Okay, it's 14 degrees right now. But this is just an example of a lookup task. What if I could give a task like, hey Siri, order me a pizza? Now, for that, the way it currently works is if Domino's has built the Domino's iOS app that if you have it on your phone and it's built an integration that uses Siri, it might be able to do that. Might. But that has to be programmed in advance. Somebody has to build that integration in advance and do it, right? The difference here is this is just making it up right now. It's making it up. It's just figuring it out. You've not in advance fed it all the websites in the world and instructions on how to do it, right? So a future version of Siri. So this is pretty much what it is. A future version of Siri. What I will say is, hey Siri, remember that party I was planning? The one we've been talking about every single day, right? Because I use it as an intelligent agent. Can you quickly check in if my caterer can change the ratio of veg to non-veg sandwiches? I think most of our sandwiches are veg. Can we make that 50? Can we make that 60-40? Right? Something like this. And I just do it as if I'm talking on the phone. Ha bhaiya, ye kar dena. And I'm sure you guys have seen I'm sure you guys have seen this, right? I think it 20 is very old, by the way, this feature. They did not launch it because there were ethical reasons, right? Robocalls. But this happened in 2018, I think, if I'm not wrong. But check out the video. Right, we're not going to watch it right now, but it was called Google Duplex, right? 2018.
The progress with the assistant. As I said earlier, our 60% on Tuesday between is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
How can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd.
Sure, give me 1 second.
Dude, this was 4 years ago.
Sure,
People are laughing at the sound.
At 12 p.m.
We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15.
Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for?
Just a woman's haircut for now.
Okay, we have a 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. is fine.
Okay, what's her first name?
What?
The first name is Lisa.
Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock.
Is that a Apple reference,
Okay,
Lisa?
great. Thanks.
Great. Have a great day. Bye.
Guys, we got their ass. We got their ass. We got it. This is what it's been coming up to. This is what it's been building up towards. The intelligence age. This is what primitive AGI looks like. You give it an objective. Suddenly, everybody lives like a head of state. Needs something done, your agents take care of the rest. Guys, you watch Succession. You know, in Succession, they just have a bunch of, they're rich, right? So they've got a bunch of staff. I can just be like, yo, get my plane ready. I need to go meet I need to go meet this guy for the Gojo deal or whatever. And your staff takes care of it, right? That's a technology that's been reserved for the very, very rich people. That's an example of intelligence, right? You need intelligence. You need money to be able to set that up, number one. But you need intelligent people to actually execute that for you. The employees in Succession, they're all intelligent people, right? The intelligence age is making that intelligence available just like a tap. You and I today in our house can go switch on a tap and water comes in, bro. That's not normal. That's a technology that we have, right? Water on demand in a tap in every single house. The whole world still doesn't have that, right? There's some areas which don't have access to running water. But this is another example. What if you could have intelligence on demand just like you have running water? We got their ass, guys. This is what's up. This is how it works. So, why are agents such a big opportunity? Guys, agents are the future of apps. Some of you probably heard it here first, right? And I'm probably not the first person to come up with this, but I have enough conviction now. Personally, I have enough conviction. It's still early though, right? Here are some use cases. Now, how do you think about this? So let me show you this. In the midterm, you're going to see a huge rise in 1 or 2 people startups that use a combination of AutoGPT and ChatGPT. They'll be able to make the kind of progress you had previously expected from a 100-person startup. Guys. Now, of course, some of you, when you see this, you're thinking about layoffs, right? Because current teams would be laid off. Okay, let's stop. Let's pause this. So, what can we do about this, guys? These autonomous agents will exist. Okay. These agents, guys, will exist in every industry. Real estate. We just saw a real estate demo. But you will have agents that can do all of this stuff for you. And you can even program it such that they reach out to you once a day, twice a day to just give you check-in updates such that it's not doing anything crazy. right? It gets certain things you can get approval for. Entertainment, we've already talked about the idea of infinite media. Education, guys, this is a good one. Learning platforms, new tutors, new types of analytic tools. Art and design, generative, guys, literally the announcement for this beautiful handsome Pepe. The future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. That is a quote from, I don't know who, but that's the scene, guys. So given that this is happening, do you think masters in HCI is a good investment? So Aditya, what I will tell you is all this shit, this is what HCI is now. So this paper that we saw, right, this paper here, getting into HCI academia is you are kind of getting in at this level, right? You're not getting in at the, so what I said, research, demo, indie products, feature, product, company, right? That's the thing. Joining HCI academia, you're getting in at the ground floor, right? So definitely good. But more than that, I would say that masters in HCI, the biggest advantage, if you can afford it. Okay, number one, you have to be able to afford it, bro. Like EMI loans and shit, no joke, right? How much it costs. But outside of that, I would say it's a good investment if you want to go abroad. Now, of course, we can't predict what happens to jobs, what happens to all this stuff. But this is the new future of design, bro. This is design. The last decade was all about apps. However, as you can see, in 2015, there were signs of something new, which is chatbots. There have been a lot of waves like this, by the way, right? Wearables as a wave. It happened so long back. I remember designing some wearables shit on my Dribble. Okay, I'm not going to show you. On my Dribble, like 2015, 2016, when the first, not even Apple Watch, first Android watch came out. But the good thing about these technologies, comes in waves and it's composable. It stacks on top of each other, right? So existing technologies don't go away. They get augmented. And I'm going to show you an example of this. Today's stream, guys, I know there's fewer people, but this is one of my most in-depth streams, if I had to say. The thing I wanted to show you was this, right? So in an office, the reason I start with an office is when we say human-computer interaction, humans and computers did not interact the way they do today. The way humans and computers interacted was in the office, you have a computer. When you go to work, you're going to interact with it. When you come back, you're not going to be connected to the internet. You're not going to be able to, let me quickly check what file is, what the file name, let me change the file name, change my YouTube title, all that shit. You can't do that. 1980s to 2000s, roughly I've put this. Now, of course, this is not a whole thing. I'm just showing you what I'm working on. Folks who enroll in cohort 7, by the way, you will get to see the full image of this. And by full, I mean the progression of technology. This is something I'm still working on. So this is a work in progress. Applications for cohort 7, they open in a few weeks. So first week of May is what we're aiming for. And then it'll start, as soon as as soon as our spots fill up. So usually we let it run for maybe a month and a half. So within a couple of weeks, we're going to be starting the next cohort. But anyways, the reason I brought this up is when we think about human-computer interaction, one of the ways you can think about it is what's the domain in which I interact with them, right? So typically you take a 24-hour day. You are asleep. Okay, I need to highlight now. You take a 24-hour day. Let's say you're sleeping for 8 hours and then you go to work. A 9 to 5, 8 hours, right? The computer, you use it not for the entire time that you're there, right? Let's not forget, an office is a place where work happens, but it's not online, right? So in a day, you might only use the computer here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And that's it, guys. This is your visualization right here. This is how much you use technology back then. The only domain you used it in was the domain of Office, right? Let's go a level further. Your operating system, right? Today we're using apps and every app connects to the internet, so it's all networked. Apps have feeds inside them, all that shit. But back then, the way you would interact with the computer, right, is you have your operating system, you've got your browser. Inside your browser, you've got websites you can visit, go see the news, read the Yahoo News. You've got portals, so you might have your employee portal or some shit, right? You have search, whatever. And then you have different applications. You have MS Word that you use, MS DOS, depending on what age, 1980s to 2000, basically since the personal computers came out. So you've got these applications, and then the way you load media in is usually with CDs, right? Or you're connected to a local area network and you can find files and you can find apps, right? So that is this right here. Applications typically were not networked, right? So today we're using Google Sheets. We're using that inside the browser actually, but it wasn't like that before. You had a separate application, which was Microsoft Excel. And Microsoft Excel did not connect to the internet. It was an offline application. And when you had the files, you could email the file, or using the CDs and network, you could transfer it using one of these storage mediums, right? In a CD or something like that. And you could also, like, you're in the company network, so you could use things like FTP, file transfer, you do it, right? So when we look at computer usage, right, most of your time is not on the internet, right? Most of your time is offline. In fact, most of your time is not on the computer at all. The time that is on the computer, it's not on the internet, it's offline in these apps that you're doing. And when you need to send something, then you might kind of do that. And it kind of is a dropping function, right? If you just kind of had to map it out. Now let's go one level further, guys. What does the operating system of the Office look like in the 1980s to 2000s? You've got your cubicle, right? I'm showing you a map. I'm showing you just a visual representation of something that exists so you can map out the relationships, right? This is kind of information architecture, right? I'm trying to show a model of the world as it exists in a diagram so it's easy for you to visualize. But the way an office works today, when we think of the office, when we think about work, 100% of our time is spent on the, let's just say 90% of our time is spent here on the computer, online. In fact, with remote work, it's not even, a lot of times it's not even 9 to 5. Like, you might do one email at 9, you have a few calls over here, your work kind of starts here, and it keeps going, and now you didn't do the work, so you now have to do a little bit like this, your sleep gets fucked, right? That's how it works today. But just understand how much of a clean break it was back in the day. And so the way an office worked is you had the cubicle. On your cubicle, you have a desk, right? You've got your in and your out. Messages that are coming in, messages that are going out. There is a mail room that is extremely important. In one of the streams, we talked about the idea of a paperless office, right? It was unimaginable. A paperless office was unimaginable. And today, the only paper I have on my desk is these sticky notes, right? My entire office is this thing online. The word for this is technically dematerialization, right? All of this stuff, it became digital, dematerialized. The reason I show you this, guys, is so you have the cubicle. These cubicles, they're in some kind of clusters. Let me just quickly show you this. You might have a department, right? These are your CEO, VP, whatever. Then you have your board. You might have department A, department M, whatever. Some people here. These are your other departments. It kind of just, the more you look into it, the more deeper it goes. Departments have departments inside it, right? That's the arrangement. And then you have a huge thing, which is your archives, right? So you might have your employee records, and these are physical archives. These are cabinets. So in your cubicle, you probably have a cabinet that has all your documents. It has your yearly reports. Things that today are in your docs.google.com or drive.google.com was a physical object next to your desk. And so at a company level, you also had this kind of thing. You had this folder structure and all this stuff common. And these were real folders, right? Some of these slowly started becoming digital folders. You have different types of records, and yeah, that's a overall view. In the mailroom, you had intra-office communication, which is in and out within the office, sending updates, memos, and things like that. You can't just post on the Slack, right? But a lot of it was forms. Forms are how you take input. And so forms, passing them, the right kind of envelope, all that shit, right? That's what the mailroom does. You also have inter-office communication. So you have incoming email. There's no incoming email. There's no, I saw it on Twitter. No. It's a letter that comes to your office. It comes to your mailroom. The mailroom processes it. The mailroom staff, they take it in. They say where this needs to go. It either needs to go outside. We need to fill up a form and we need to do this and do this. Anyway, you guys see all this, right? The reason I brought this up and the reason I'm helping you visualize this is because what we are headed towards, the reason I bring all this up is the title of this video is Design, HCI and AI, right? I could have gone way deeper into that diagram, by the way, and talked about the UX of things that are here today. Keep in mind, most of those real world processes, right? Like the mailroom has to process it and do it for you. Eventually what happened was you have apps, or actually no, that's jumping a bit. All this shit, right? Just to give you an example, this mailroom right here, it was a specific function in the office. There were people whose whole job was information processing, where they had to walk around, run around. If you watch Mad Men, right? There's people with these trolley carts and they're like handing out pay slips and forms and updates and shit like that, sticking things on notice boards. All of this mailroom was replaced by software. That's your visualization. This whole thing is basically G Suite in some ways, right? It's your email. It's your docs. It's other forms of communication, right? Slack or Rooms or whatever, Teams. So the simple way that I'm going to just tell you this now, this mailroom, which people's job was to process information, eventually there are apps. So software replaces that. Now offices don't have mailrooms, right? Those jobs are gone, but they're not really gone. It's not really the job that's gone, it's that function is gone. So those people can either switch to other departments or whatever. Things change. This has been replaced by apps. Now, what happens next as this AI gets better? Of course, the AI, all these tools, these demos, new capabilities come to these existing apps that we use, but there is a new generation of apps that is now built on top of this, right? Software is eating the world. It is. Software is eating the world. So what this comes down to is HCI, design and AI. The world is changing. What can you do about it? The first thing you can do about it is develop an understanding, right? Develop an understanding that things are not the same as they were. The diagram that I showed you, right? The office and office operating system, bro, I didn't have to show you that. I could have just told you visually ki haan bro aise hai, but the reason I drew that is because it's complex. Today, we focus our energy on how things are, but there is a flow of how things are becoming. So there will be new types of apps that are formed, right? When we are looking at things like this, autonomous agents, these are the equivalent of screen share. These are the equivalent of apps, right? And in fact, this article, when you do read it, it tells you what the opportunity really is. The opportunity is to actually design these apps and work on it. Now, that is still HCI, that is still user experience. It's not UI design from a traditional way, but all this stuff is complicated, right? This is exactly the job of designers for this decade. And let me say, it's not just this, right? There will still be apps, there will still be B2B SaaS, there will still be founders building the same stuff that they built today, 5 years ago. They'll build new versions of that in the future, right? So design exists from that perspective. But beyond that, this is the equivalent of a new app store. This is a paradigm shift that's happening. And now, of course, it's too early. So you can't today be like, I want to design. Actually, you can. you can definitely design this, but you will have to code at this point, right? It's that early. Eventually, it gets a little easier, and eventually, it makes its way to jobs or whatever. But another point that I want to make here is the fact that technology is changing, let's say, the office, right? The example that we showed right here. It also means that it's changing the world in some way, because if the way offices are changed, you as an individual, your behavior changes, right? Your kind of the way things are change for you. Your whole schedule changes, bro, right? I hope you guys were able to see that connection. Your whole schedule changes as a result. Your life changes because of technology. So, the final point I want to kind of end with, since we talked about you, what is it, your thing, what this also means, I'm going to show you guys this. Have you guys seen this? You guys seen this? 5.7 million views. How many of you seen this? Because I want to make a point right here. When the office was in this kind of predictable form, or let's not say predictable, it's not predictable, but this kind of form, because of this, hiring is a certain way, right? If the structure of office is like this, hiring is a certain way, process a certain way, skills need a certain way, people entering the industry are going to enter in a specific way. This office that I'm showing you here is fiction. It doesn't exist anymore. I don't have an in and out on my desk with a cabinet. I just have a laptop. This whole thing is just a laptop, right? So similarly, most life paths, which is me, I'm in school, I'm going to then do this, then I'm going to, I'm going to school, then I'm going to go to college, then I'm going to get into a job, and I'm going to retire, and then I'm done, right? This was the world your parents lived in. If you were born 200 years ago, you were probably working in a field, right? Probably with your community, whoever, you have a certain goal, you're doing all this stuff. If you're born 100 years ago, you're probably working in a factory. You're doing all of this stuff. You're assigned here. There are certain levels. But today, guys, the traditional career paths available to us can be designed. That is a big deal. You can design, bro. You can design your own career path. And the reason I want to show you this, let's watch it.
So I haven't studied and all. I dropped out after 11th exam.
What do you do?
I'm a product designer. I basically handle UI UX.
So, what did you study and how did you get this job?
By my dropout actually. So I haven't studied and all. I dropped out after 11th exam. Yes.
You dropped out after 11th.
Yeah, right.
How did you get this job? Wait, tell me about yourself, bro.
So yeah, I belong to a very small city in UP named Basti. And I basically dropped out after 11th. So what I did is basically I joined one 10K designers cohort, which is a UI UX course.
Okay.
Then there I made my portfolio, and then I applied for jobs or posted my works on Twitter or LinkedIn, and there I got few opportunities, and then some company hired me.
Bro, if anybody ever tells you that marks matter, go show this video to them. Go show this video to your parents. Belt them.
Belt them.
So I haven't studied.
Okay. So you guys get what I mean. This is exactly what we have been talking about this whole time. The world we're living in is not the same. The world we're living in, there are multiple paths available. The world we're living in, we can use the internet almost as a game that we play to figure out what we want to do. What we are doing today, the way we use technologies, the way we think about careers, everything is about to change. Everything is changing, right? So even today, you thinking about what to do, it's not a static world, right? As we are talking, the world is not on pause, waiting for us to understand what it is. It's constantly moving, constantly changing, right? The teams that are working on these AI stuff, they're constantly working on it so that it can be released, so it reaches more people, so that we eventually use it, so that overall the world is changing. That's the point. And this world requires you to have that kind of designer eye. And the reason I just call it designer, right? It might be because, yeah, bro, I'm a design YouTuber. That's my thing and whatever. But The point is design. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Figuring things out, creating a model of the world so that you can understand it, designing these applications, right? When you design G Suite as a designer, you are kind of figuring out, how do I change the behavior of people in offices all over the world, right? When you're designing an app that will eventually reach the masses, you are designing something that's changing their behavior. But where it starts is your understanding of it. And there's never been a better time to be alive as a designer. It doesn't get better than this, guys. Okay. All right. This guy's too funny, bro. The interview, belt your pants. Yeah, bro. 5.7 million views. So that, by the way, that's Aryan. I think he works at a crypto company. And just to give you an example, that's an example of him figuring out a path. Now, of course, 10K designers help, but it's all him. He did the work. He's the one who had the balls to say, I'm not going to go to college. I'm not going to go down the path that you have chosen for me, that the rest of the world thinks is some kind of default. I'm going to figure it out even if things are uncertain. And I'm going to meet like-minded people who also believe that. And so today, together, we meme this shit into existence. That's what it's about, guys. My favorite comment on that reel, by the way. Speaking of, my favorite comment on that reel is, bro, escaped the Matrix for real. Man. Bro escaped the Matrix for real. Okay, guys. So I can wrap up now. This was my presentation to you for today. I can definitely answer some questions if you want, right? Final 10-15 minutes. But overall, I hope this gave you a lot of interesting stuff. Those of you who are planning on enrolling in the cohort, it starts now. I would definitely suggest checking out some of these streams, because these topics, we'll be building upon them in the cohort. The cohort, it's more like this. It's live, but it happens on Zoom, and we actually do breakout activities. The mentors get involved. We have tasks and weekly schedule and all that shit, right? So that's the scene. Looking forward to seeing you, a lot more of you in that cohort. And guys, I think we'll wrap up. So what are your final reviews, guys? You enjoyed today's stream? Yeah? Do you guys enjoy today's stream? Remember, guys, remember this. Remember this, guys. The world we're living in is changing very rapidly. And that can be a scary thing. It can be a scary thing. But the world has always been changing, to be honest. And it's actually our responsibility to make sense of the world. To make sense of the world so that we can act accordingly in it. So that we can become the people that bring about these changes. So that we can model and change the world to our preferences. So that we can make money. So that we can make money. That money will be used for us to build our lifestyles. And that is the new career. A career is no longer a job you join, and at the end of it, you retire with a gold watch. That world doesn't exist anymore. The world of offices? Nope. Not that way anymore. But rather than be scared by it, or be like, oh, like everything is changing, oh my god, let's just be smart about it. Let's figure it out, right? As designers, that is our core strength. That is our core strength. And nobody wants a dystopia, right? We're not doing this to create a cyberpunk world. The reason I have these beautiful mountains that match my cap here is we want to live in the world. We don't want to replace the world with technology. And the way we do that is by taking responsibility of our own actions, creating our own paths, making squads going at it together. This is the new Wild West. This is the great online game. See you on the next stream.